Hello, brothers and sisters. God bless. Let's get into the verse of the video. Today's verse comes from the book of Corinthians, chapter 10, verse 31, and it reads, "So whether you eat or drink or whatever you do, do all to the glory of God." All right, so today we're going to do another meal prep on this weight gaining journey. And I say weight gain because I'm hopefully trying to put on some muscle, right? So look out for my other videos with the sweet potato, broccoli, and chicken, but we got to switch it up every now and then just to stay, keep it interesting, right? So today we're going to be doing some flat iron steak, some chicken, which is pre-seasoned with the fajita mix. Then we got our red, green bell peppers and our onion. I'm going to be cooking this stuff in coconut oil, or at least I'm going to be cooking the chicken in coconut oil, and I'm going to be cooking the flat iron steak inside of some A5 Wagyu fat. And we're going to be making some white rice. So I already measured how many cups of rice are in a 2-pound bag. So it would equal 2 cups of white uncooked rice. So I put 10 cups of water in here, which are getting warmed up to the boil. Then I got my cast iron skillet ready for the beef. And I got my setup right here for the chicken. So it's good to have everything already ready to go. That way you can just try to cook it all in one shot, right? Remember, my videos are for beginners that are not feeling too confident or comfortable with doing stuff like this. And this is just to show you the full process and to be able to take a chance and just give it a try. Sometimes you might be wanting to, but not really ready to put in the work, right? You do this one day and you got meals for a few days depending on how much you cook. So let's get into this, right? So I already got the water boiling for the rice, and I'm gonna start heating up these pans for the chicken and the beef. All right, so our water's boiling. Careful, because it's hot, right? I'm just gonna do as recommended. Drop in the rice and stir as I'm dropping it in. Stirring as I'm dropping it in. Okay, so obviously the water's gonna stop boiling once you throw in the cold product in there. So we're gonna let that come to a simmer. Then we're gonna cover it, and the directions say to let it simmer for 20 minutes or until the rice has absorbed all the water. So we see that. I'm gonna let it come up to a simmer, then we're gonna get back in there. So I'm gonna wait till it comes back to a simmer. Then I got my oil already right here for the chicken. That's what you want to hear, right? Get that sizzle going. I'm gonna wash my hands. I'm gonna use a different utensil for that. I'm gonna spread it all out so it gets evenly cooked around the pan. Alright, so we got our utensil for our rice. We got our utensil for our chicken. I'm going to cover that chicken for a little bit, just so it gets a thorough cook. I'm going to turn it, then I'm going to throw the fajita mix in there. So now we got our Wagyu fat already burning, or melting I should say, almost burning, right? Smoking, which I noticed yesterday has got a high smoke point. So now we're just going to open up this beef. We're gonna get some tongs. Boom. You hear that bad boy sizzling too? We're gonna throw 2 in there since they fit. Just barely, but they do. I'm gonna throw my timer on for the beef. I'll throw 5 minutes on there. All right, like I said earlier, This is it, just something for beginners. I'm obviously not a professional bodybuilder, nothing like that, but I do like to meal prep, stay a little bit on the leaner side, even though I am trying to gain weight, healthy weight, right? So at one point in my life, I weighed 274 pounds. I changed the way I was living and I changed the way I was eating. And over a 6-year period, I dropped 69 pounds. So the leanest I'd ever been in my adult life was 201 pounds. Right now, I'm at about 220. And I started this journey to trying to gain weight about a month ago, and I was 217 if I'm not mistaken. It's kind of hard. You really got to try to put on weight, right? And eat and eat and eat and eat. Sometimes you're almost force feeding yourself, but this is something that I want to do. Just trying to pack on a little bit of muscle. Just to feel more stable and to be able to have more agility in doing things that I want to do. I'm 38 years old and I still want to live like a youngster, right? My mind says one thing, but my body says another. So I'm just trying to be able to live how I like and just be able to go hard as long as I can, right? All right, so like I said, just keep in mind, the rice is pretty much already coming up to a simmer, maybe even a boil. So let's turn that down. Yeah, that came up to a boil, so I even let that cook a little too long, right? So let's turn that down, put that maybe on a 2. Here, let's see right there. So light bubbles, really light bubbles is called poaching. Small bubbling effect is a simmer, and a roaring bubble is obviously boiling, all right? Just something to think about. All right, I'm gonna turn on this fan. Hopefully it doesn't mess up the audio on this, but let's hit it. I'll hit it on low, okay? So now I'm gonna check on this chicken. And remember, things are hot, so it's good to have a little oven mitt around, right? So, all right, the chicken is getting colored, right? So now what I'm gonna do is turn that around. Sorry guys, I'm new to this whole YouTube and recording, so bear with me, right? I'm trying to get this all done one shot. So I got a good color on the chicken, as you'll see here in a minute. Just give it a good stir around and try to turn it if you can, right? Cook evenly on both sides. And like I said in my other video, it's good to have a cooking thermometer just to know that your chicken or your beef or whatever is cooked to the desired temperature. And chicken, if I'm not mistaken, is supposed to be cooked internally to 165 degrees Fahrenheit for safety issues, right? Okay, so let's see what we got going on in there. Got our chicken right there. Alright, we got a minute left on our timer for our steak. So we're gonna check the boil on our rice or simmer, right? So that's like a small simmer. We're gonna cover that. Maybe even turn that down to about a 1.5. That's low, right? Okay, so now I'm going to throw the fajita mix on top of this chicken. Spread that out evenly. Boom, there goes my timer for my flat iron steak. Let's cover that. Let's see what kind of crust we got on there, right? Oh, alrighty, so there we go. So we see it's a little bit dark, right? Let's go another 5 minutes on there. Rice. beef and chicken, all being done simultaneously. Like I said, this is just for beginners, just to let you know that it's possible. I actually went to a culinary school in Bakersfield College. I had zero cooking experience that before I even went into school. The best advice I can give you, and the one that I took from the school is most, is don't be afraid to mess up. Get in the kitchen and cook for yourself. Prior to the school, I used to never cook at all. So now I'm not afraid to mess up, and you'll learn as you go along, right? And you can eat nutritional food that are low in calorie and nutrient dense, because there's actually a thing called 0 calories or empty calories, where you're eating calories and not getting any nutrition in whatsoever. So right here, we know we're getting our nutrition in, right? So yeah, let's just keep this thing rocking and rolling. Don't mess with your food too continuously, but just remember to keep an eye on it, right? So right there, we got our chicken. Woo! Got our chicken in our fajita mix, right? Got our flat iron steak. Coming down to the last 40 seconds for the second side of the sear. Then we're gonna check our rice. It's steaming and absorbing water, which is what we want. So the rice was suggested to cook for 20 minutes or till the water is absorbed. So when I put the first steak on, I had a timer of 5 minutes, turned it over, put another 5 minutes on there, so that lets me know I'm at 10 minutes because I dropped them around the same time. So I'm gonna pull this steak, put another 10 minutes on the timer, put the other steak on there, turn it halfway through, and by that time the rice should be done, right? It's a little bit of multitask, but like I said, just don't be scared. And it's a lot more cost efficient instead of paying somebody to meal prep for you, or you going out and buying whole foods from like a restaurant or something like that and trying to keep up with the meal prep. That's pretty pricey. So this is a cost effective and the most nutritious way you can be eating, right? So we just heard our timer. Hopefully you guys can see this on the camera. So what I'm going to do, here, we want to pull the steak. There's one. There's two. Set that bad boy down. Hear the sizzle. Set my timer for 10 minutes. Oh, you know what? We'll just go ahead and keep it 5. So I set the new steak down, put the timer for 5 minutes. That's gonna go off. Turn the steak around, put the timer back in for 5 minutes, which is an equivalent to 20 minutes, and I'll be checking on the rice at that point. And remember to keep an eye on that chicken, right? You want it obviously cooked, but not overcooked. And if you do have a thermometer, you can pull your food 5 to maybe 10 degrees cooler than what you wanted. So if I want this chicken at 165, I can pull it 157-ish to 160, and there's a thing called carryover cooking. It'll, from 5 to 10 degrees, 10 is kind of cutting it close, but it's guaranteed that it's gonna carry over cook, meaning it's gonna cook even after you've took it off of the heat. So just keep that in mind, right? Yeah, let's give that another little stir. Oh yeah, that's looking good. And what I like to do is I like to play it a little bit safe with the chicken, right? And when I check to see if it's properly cooked, I'll look for the biggest piece. I'll cut it in half with my fingers or a fork. And if it looks cooked inside, then that means the rest of the chicken's cooked, because that's the biggest and thickest piece, right? That's kind of the way I like to do it. So that's a good little stir. Let's cover it back up. And bear with me, like I said, I'm new to the GoPro, and there's another video with the unboxing, and I'll do another video explaining if I like or don't like, but I'll tell you right now, thus far I do like it. So right now, bear with me for the editing, and I'm trying to show you the whole process. There's probably a lot of channels that'll tell you like, all this is how I like to meal prep, and they show you the actual tray, but they don't show you the work that's done into making that tray, and numerous trays, right? So I like to dedicate one day out of the week at least, and to do a good meal prep. And from there, all you got to do is open the fridge, pull it out, throw it in the microwave. On your way to work, open the fridge, grab a couple or a few trays, boom, take off. Ain't no need to wake up early every day to make your food, and or stopping at the store and making purchases that you wouldn't normally make. And especially when you pull up to the store and you're hungry, you're buying things that you wouldn't normally eat: chips, sunflower seeds, gum, fried burritos, corn dogs, you know what I mean? And that's not really good for you, right? So you're not getting any nutrition and you're spending the money. So that's a double negative, right? So like I said, bear with me with the editing, but I do want to show you the whole cooking process from beginning to end. So just please stay tuned. Thank you, brothers and sisters. All right, so my 5-minute timer is fixing to go off. 3, 2, 1. I'm gonna set my timer again. 5 minutes, start. And that means turn this steak over, right? Okay, so here we go with that. Timer's going. So we got approximately 15 minutes on the rice or so. We're gonna check up on that. It's looking good, it's looking fluffy, so I'm gonna cover that. And I had already turned that all the way to low. So let's check up on this chicken. Woo! Looking good and smelling good. So I'm gonna turn that down just a tad. And something to think about, when you're boiling water for any kind of food, really, if you put a lid on it, it'll help it come to a boil a lot quicker. And also for the chicken, I covered it, that way it can cook with the steam from top to bottom, that way it can cook evenly all the way through, right? From the edges to the center. Just something to think about, a little tip. Just something to make the cooking process a little bit quicker, which is equivalent to a little bit easier, right? So remember to consider the carry over cooking, which will bring you 5 to maybe 10 degrees hotter after you take it away from the heat source, right? So what I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna turn off the chicken. I'm gonna turn off the rice, because that puts me at about 20 minutes total, right? We're gonna cut into these steaks right now just to see how they look inside. Remember, there's nothing wrong. Say it's a little bit too rare, put it back on the skillet for a little bit. Ain't nothing wrong with that. You can always cook a little more, but you can't take it back, right? And also with seasoning, you can always add a little bit more, but you can never take out. Always add more, never take out. Consider that when putting salt in anything, right? Salt and pepper. All right, so the timer just went off. I turned off my chicken, or turn off the heat to the chicken. Turn off the heat to the rice. That steak is still on there, and by the looks of it, these things are medium rare, maybe medium, but we're gonna cut into that to find out. So let's check that out, right? Remember, for more tender cuts, you want to cut across the grain. Hey. Okay, so hopefully you can see that, right? I like the color of that. So I would call that steak good. And remember, you're gonna put these back in the microwave, so they're gonna cook even a little bit longer than that, right? So let's cut into the other one. Okay, so this one was a little bit on the thicker side. I don't know if you can see that. A little bit on the thicker side, could be cooked a little bit more. So guess what? The one that's on the skillet right now, probably about the same thickness as the one I just cut. So that lets me know I need to cook it just a tad bit longer. So I'll go ahead and leave that one on, and I'll throw the other one back on just for a minute, right? Ain't no big deal. So I got that on there. Throw that back on there. All right, so just to show you guys there's nothing wrong with a little bit rare, right? This is that piece that just got cut. Gotta try the product before you know? That'll work. Look at that. Remember, if you get confident and you start cooking not just for yourself but for others, there's just saying a chef has to try his own cooking before he just dishes it out, right? So like I said, we got to try the final product before we just start giving food out. That way we know if there's adjustments we need to make or if it's good enough to just give out. I'm being 100% honest, this one's a little bit more on the rare side. It's decent though, but remember, these are meal prep. I'm going to be traying them up and I'm going to be throwing them in the microwave when it's time to eat. So obviously it's going to cook a little bit more in the microwave, just something to think about. Turn both of those over. I'll even put it on the cap. I'm gonna go ahead and turn that heat off. I'm gonna apologize again. I'm new to the whole recording. I'm new to the GoPro. I'm new to the editing. So please bear with me and hopefully it'll all be worth it when you see the final product, when they're all cooked and trayed up, all right? I'm gonna call my rice good. The beef is still on there. Call my chicken good. So what we're gonna do is look for a piece. I mean, they're all pretty similar sizes, right? So I'll just grab me a piece. You know what? Woo! That's hot and it's tender. All right, so to stop the cooking process, the grates of the stove, they're still gonna be hot. So you wanna take these things off of that and just maybe put them on the cooling rack. All right, so let's do that right now. Okay, boom. We got that. We got our chicken. And when putting things on the counter, make sure not to put them on the edge. That would be terrible if you did all that work and it was just to fall down, lost all your food, and you still got to clean up again, right? Just something to think about, like I said. So right now, I'm gonna let this stuff cool down. I'm gonna put them in trays and I'll show you the final product. Another thing to think about, you gotta let things cool down before you put them in a tray. Put a lid on them and throw them inside of the fridge to cool down. That's not the way you want to do it. If you do want to cool them down a little bit quicker, you can throw them in the fridge uncovered as they're cooking, but you don't want to put a lid on them. And the reason for that is there's still heat and there's coolness around. So that's a nice environment for bacteria to build up, right? There's a lot of moisture in there. And one of the things that the chef told me, he said the bacteria, they're kind of like us. They like to come out to the beach and stuff like that when the temperature's just right. So at the same time, the sun's out, you know, a little bit of heat, but feeling fresh at the same time. We like to go to the beach in that time, in that temperature, in that weather, right? So the same thing for the bacteria. It likes to come out during that temperature. So just always cool down before finally plating and putting in the refrigerator, just to avoid bacteria. This is how the steak came out, which I like that. And when I say cut against the grain, as you can tell, the grain is running this way. So I'm cutting against the grain going that way. If I were to cut it with the grain, as you can see, my hand is lining up with the line. It'll just be a little bit chewier, a little bit tougher. So you want to go against the grain for the tenderest cut or the tenderest bites you can get. All right, brothers and sisters, this is just the plate that I'm going to eat for now. All I'm going to do is throw some pink Himalayan salt and some crushed black pepper on there. But that's the final product, and then I'll show you when it's all trayed up and ready to go. But that's what I'm going to enjoy right now. So not looking too bad, huh? Just another little easy tip. When you're putting everything in trays, just make sure to do them all and not do them individually. So instead of putting rice and chicken, rice and chicken, rice and chicken, just do them all rice and then all chicken and then all beef or whatever your sequence is. But just do them all in one shot. Just something to do a little bit easier. All right, brothers and sisters, I'm going to show you the final product. And when meal prepping, try not to cook for more than 5 to 7 days. And when you're entering the last of those 5 to 7 days, make sure you smell your food. And if it doesn't look right, there's a saying that always stuck with me. When in doubt, throw it out. So remember, 5 to 7 days, and if you're kind of not sure if it's still good, when in doubt, throw it out, right? Okay, so here we go. Here's the final product right here. So we got beef. That was just the last of the beef and the last of the chicken. We got chicken, right? So it's better to undercook and be able to eat everything you actually cooked or cooked in abundance and not even get close to finishing what you cooked and end up throwing it away. That's no good, right? So just get a nice little, at least 3, 4, 5 days, 7 days, that's cutting it close. But if you're super busy and that's what you want to do, ain't nothing wrong with that, right? So yeah, this is the little experience that I'm going on. And this isn't all I'll be eating. I'll also be eating oatmeal mixed with protein powder and bananas. And I'll also be eating a lot of eggs. And I'll also be drinking protein powder. So this isn't the only thing I'll be eating. And once these things are getting close to running out and I got time, I'll go at it again. I'll probably make a video of cooking up something different. Like I said, you got to keep things interesting. If you're eating the same thing over and over and over, it can get old pretty quick, and you start opening that fridge or going into the pantry and eating things that you weren't intending on eating, right? Just whatever's accessible. And half of the battle is having this food ready, man. If you're hungry, you show up home and you're like, man, I'm just hungry. You open the fridge, or before you even that, you get into the pantry, and most of the things in the pantry are processed foods, right? You're trying to stay away from those. So yeah, this is the meal prep thing. Just be ready, and hopefully it goes good for you, and hopefully it goes good for all of us. Thank you, and I appreciate your patience and all of your time. God bless, brothers and sisters. Thank you.